The ship shook hard as another blast hit the side, grabbed the wall to keep himself standing. Red lights flashed everywhere. The alarm was so loud that he could barely hear his own thoughts. "They're locking onto us," shouted from the pilot's seat. Her fingers moved fast over the controls but could see the fear in her eyes. They both knew what was happening. Raiders, the worst kind of trouble in this part of space. Had been hauling cargo for 6 years now. Medical supplies, food, machine parts, simple work for simple pay. He had left the Earth military behind long ago, tired of fighting, tired of watching people die. He thought the cargo life would be peaceful. He was wrong. "Can we outrun them?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "No chance," said. "They've got 3 ships. We've got one old freighter held together with tape and prayers." Another blast. This one killed the engines. The ship went dark for a moment before the emergency power kicked in. They were dead in space now, floating, waiting. Through the front window, watched the vessels move closer. They were ugly ships built from stolen parts and covered in old battle scars. They didn't build anything themselves. They just took from others. Ships, cargo, people. Especially people. "There's another ship out there," said quietly. She pointed to a larger vessel drifting nearby. It had also been hit. Smoke poured from its side. "Looks like a diplomatic transport. Markings." Knew about tall aliens with pale blue skin and silver eyes. They lived for hundreds of years and thought they were better than everyone else. They had powerful technology and a huge empire. But out here, far from their protected worlds, they were just as weak as anyone else. The boarding tubes connected to both ships at the same time. Heard the sound of metal cutting through metal. They were coming in. "Hide the weapon," said, throwing him a small pistol. "Under your jacket. Don't use it unless you have to." He tucked it away just as the door exploded inward. They were big, almost 2 meters tall, with gray skin like stone and 4 arms. Their faces had no expression, just black eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. They carried weapons that looked like they could cut a person in half. "Down, everyone down," one of them shouted in broken common language. And dropped to their knees. There was nothing else to do. Fighting now would only get them killed faster. The raiders searched the ship, taking anything valuable. Then they grabbed and dragged them through the boarding tube into the main vessel. The inside of the raider ship smelled like blood and old metal. Had seen bad places before during his military days. This was worse. Chains hung from the ceiling. Dark stains covered the floor. This was a place where people suffered. They threw him into a large room filled with other prisoners. Most were from his cargo ship, but there were also aliens from the transport. About 20 people total, all sitting on the cold floor with their hands tied. Looked around, studying the situation. Guards at both doors. No windows, no easy way out. He would have to wait, watch, find an opportunity. Then he saw her. A small girl, maybe 8 years old by human counting. She sat in the corner, crying softly. Her pale blue skin was dirty and her silver eyes were full of terror. Next to her was a tall woman, probably her mother. The woman held the child close, whispering something in their language. The mother looked different from the other. She carried herself like someone important. Her clothes, though now torn and dirty, were clearly expensive. A diplomat, maybe. Someone with power back in her own world. But here, she was just another prisoner. The little girl looked up and caught Starring. He tried to give her a small smile, something to say that it would be okay. The girl just buried her face in her mother's chest. A guard walked over to them. He grabbed the mother's arm and pulled her up. "You," he said, "important one, you come with us. Ransom talks." The mother's face went pale. "My daughter, please, let me bring my daughter." "No, child stays here. She is only a child, she needs me." The guard hit her across the face. The mother fell back but didn't make a sound. She was strong, but could see her heart breaking as she looked at her daughter. "Mama," the little girl screamed, reaching for her mother. Two guards dragged the mother away. The child tried to follow, but another guard pushed her back down. Hard. She hit the floor and started crying louder. Something hot burned in his chest. He knew that feeling. He had felt it before long ago when he watched innocent people suffer during the war. It was anger, pure and simple. The guard stood over the crying child, laughing. "Quiet, little one. Maybe we sell you too. Young bring good price." Stood up before he could stop himself. "Leave her alone." Every eye in the room turned to him. The guard looked confused at first, then amused. "Human, you speak to me." "I said leave her alone. She's just a kid." The guard walked over to slowly. He was a full head taller and twice as wide. His forearms could probably tear apart without much effort. "Brave human," the guard said. "Stupid human, you want to take her place. You want our attention instead." Looked at the little girl. She had stopped crying. She was watching him with those big silver eyes, confused and scared. She reminded him of someone, a child he couldn't save years ago in a war that never should have happened. He couldn't change the past, but maybe he could do something now. "Yeah," said quietly, "I'll take her place." The guard smiled. It was not a nice smile. "We will see, human. We will see how brave you really are." 2 days passed inside the prison ship, counted the hours by the flickering of the broken light above his head. The guards brought water once a day. Food came every other day. It was not enough, but it was something. The little girl had stopped crying. Now she just sat quietly, staring at nothing. Her name had learned that from listening to the other prisoners whisper. They said her mother was called a high diplomat of the Dominion, very important, very valuable for ransom. But the ransom talks were not going well. Could tell from the angry shouts of the captain. The government was negotiating hard, trying to pay less. Every hour they delayed, they grew more frustrated. Frustrated were dangerous. On the third morning, the captain came into the prison room. He was bigger than the other guards, with scars across his stone-gray face and a look in his black eyes that made blood go cold. Behind him walked, her hands tied, her face bruised but proud. 47 hours, the captain shouted at the prisoners. 47 hours we wait for your people to pay. 47 hours we waste fuel, food, and patience. He walked slowly through the room, looking at each prisoner like they were meat in a market. Finally, he stopped in front of the daughter of the diplomat, he said. "Small, weak, but valuable. Maybe if we hurt her, they will pay faster." Screamed and tried to run to her daughter, but 2 guards held her back. "No, please. She is only a child. Take me instead." The captain laughed. "We already have you. You are not enough." He reached down and grabbed her arm, pulling her up roughly. The little girl cried out in pain and fear. Was moving before his brain could tell him to stop. He pushed through the other prisoners and stepped between the captain and "Take me," he said. The room went silent. The captain looked at like he had lost his mind. Maybe he had. "A human, you offer yourself for a child. Why?" Didn't have a good answer. He barely knew this child. She wasn't his species. She wasn't his responsibility. But she was small. She was scared. And he could not watch another innocent child suffer while he did nothing. "Because she's a kid," said simply, "and I'm not." The captain released. She fell back to the floor and crawled away quickly. Felt a small hand grab his leg. Was holding onto him like he was the only safe thing in the universe. "Interesting," the captain said. "Very interesting." He turned to. "Your people think humans are weak, short lives, soft bodies, nothing special." He looked back at, "Let us test this human. 47 strikes. 1 for each hour we have waited. If he survives, the child lives. If he dies, we try again with her." Silver eyes went wide. 47 strikes. No one can survive that. You will kill him. Then he will die a hero, a stupid hero. The captain pointed to the center of the room. "Bring him." 2 guards grabbed and dragged him forward. They chained his hands to a metal pole that hung from the ceiling. His feet barely touched the ground. His back was exposed. Another guard brought out a weapon. It was a metal rod, thick and heavy, with sharp edges that would cut as well as crush. One hit from that thing could break bones. 47 hits would turn a body into paste. The prisoners watched in horror. One of them whispered to another, "Our kind can survive maybe 10 strikes before organ failure. Humans are weaker. He will be dead before 20. Heard them. He closed his eyes and tried to remember his training. Pain was just a signal. The body could endure more than the mind believed. He had learned that lesson the hard way years ago in places he tried to forget. The first strike came without warning. The pain was worse than anything had ever felt. The metal rod hit his back like a lightning bolt, tearing skin and cracking something inside. He cried out but did not fall. He could not fall. The chains held him up. The second strike hit the same spot. Blood began to run down his back. By the 10th strike, his vision was going dark at the edges. His body shook. His lungs burned. Every breath felt like swallowing fire. By the 20th strike, he could taste blood in his mouth. Something was broken inside. Maybe a rib, maybe more. He stopped counting. He stopped thinking. He just held on. 30 strikes. They were crying. Even the guards looked uncomfortable. The captain watched with his arms crossed, waiting for the human to die. But did not die. 40 strikes. He could not see anymore. The world was just pain and darkness. But somewhere far away, he could hear a small voice. "Please stop, please, he is hurting." She was begging for him. Held onto that voice. He let it anchor him to the world. He would not leave this child alone. He would not let his death be for nothing. 47. The final strike hit like a bomb, felt his body break. He felt things inside him shift and tear. The pain was beyond anything he could describe. And then it stopped. The guards released the chains, fell to the floor like a broken doll. He could not move. He could barely breathe. Blood pooled around him on the cold metal ground. But his heart was still beating, slow and weak but beating. The captain stood over him, silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, confused, almost afraid. "He is alive. The human is still alive." The room was completely silent. They stared at its broken body with something new in their eyes. Not pity, not sadness. Wonder. Broke free from her guards and ran too. She fell to her knees beside him, not caring about the blood that soaked into her clothes. She touched his face gently. "Why," she whispered, "why did you do this for my daughter?" Tried to speak, but only blood came out. He managed one word before the darkness took him. "Kids." Then his eyes closed, and he was gone into a place without pain. Crawled to his side and took his bloody hand in her small fingers. She held it tight and did not let go. "He is my shield," she said in her language. "He cannot die, please, he cannot die." Looked at the broken human who had given everything for a child he did not know. In that moment, something changed inside her, something she would never be able to undo. This human had earned more than just her gratitude. He had earned her heart. The rescue came 12 hours after Fell. Had spent those hours in a different part of the ship, locked away with the less valuable prisoners. She did not know what had happened to her friend. She only knew that something had changed. The guards were nervous. They whispered to each other in their rough language. Something had scared them. Then the explosion started. The first blast tore open the side of the ship, felt the whole vessel shake and heard the screaming of metal being ripped apart. Through a small window, she saw them coming. Sleek silver ships with the blue markings of the Dominion, and mixed among them, smaller vessels painted with the flag of Earth. A joint rescue mission, and humans working together for the first time in years. The guards ran to fight, leaving the prisoners alone. Used the chance. She had kept a small tool hidden in her boot, something she had learned to do long ago. It took her 3 minutes to break her chains. Then she started freeing the others. "Stay here," she told them. "Wait until the fighting stops." But she did not wait. She grabbed a weapon from a fallen guard and moved through the smoke-filled hallways. She had to find. The battle was short and brutal. Raiders were dangerous, but they were not trained soldiers. The warriors moved like water, fast and precise. The human marines were slower but hit harder. Together, they swept through the ship like a storm. Found the main prison room just as a team of soldiers broke down the door from the other side. For a moment, everyone raised their weapons at each other. Then a commander lowered his gun and nodded at her. "Human, you are a prisoner." "Yes, I'm looking for my friend. His name is Human Male, about this tall." She held up her hand. The commander's face changed. Something passed through his silver eyes that could not read. "You should see this," he said quietly. He led her into the room. The first thing saw was the blood. So much blood pooled on the floor like a dark lake, and in the center of it, surrounded by prisoners, lay. He was barely recognizable. His back was torn open, purple and red and black. His face was pale as death. Medical officers were already working on him, their hands moving fast, their tools glowing with alien technology. "He's alive," the commander said, "barely but alive." Fell to her knees beside her friend. She had seen injuries before. She had seen people die. But this was different. This looked like someone had tried to beat him to death. "What happened?" she whispered. "Who did this to him?" A voice answered from behind her, soft and tired but strong. "He chose it." Turned and saw a tall woman standing there. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her face was bruised, but she held herself like a queen. Beside her stood a small child, holding onto the woman's hand tightly. "Who are you?" asked. "My name is, this is my daughter," looked its broken body, and her silver eyes filled with something had never seen in a before. Pain, real, deep pain. "The captain wanted to punish us for the slow ransom. He chose my daughter to suffer. Your friend stepped forward instead." Stomach turned cold. He took a beating meant for a child. 47 strikes with a crushing rod. Any would have died after 10. Most species would not survive 20. His voice broke slightly. He took all of them, and he lived. Looked at again. Stupid, brave, impossible. He had always been like this, always stepping in front of danger for others. She thought he had left that part of himself behind when he quit the military. She was wrong. "Will he survive?" she asked the medical officers. A doctor looked up. His face was puzzled. "He should not be alive now. His injuries are beyond serious, but his body keeps fighting. His heart keeps beating. Human biology is strange. You are not strong, but you are stubborn." "Enduring," corrected quietly. "We call it enduring." She stood up and faced. I'm his co-pilot, his friend. We've flown together for 4 years." Nodded slowly. "Then you know what kind of man he is." "Yeah, an idiot who can't walk past someone in trouble." For the first time, almost smiled. That kind of idiot is rare in this galaxy. They loaded onto a medical transport. Technology was far ahead of human medicine. If anyone could save him, they could. Wanted to go with him, but the commander stopped her. "You must come with us for questioning. Standard procedure after a hostage situation." She wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. Instead, she turned to. "Take care of him, please." Looked at her with those strange silver eyes. "I intend to do more than that." "What do you mean?" But did not answer. She just took his hand and walked onto the transport ship. The last thing saw before the doors closed was Little, pressing her face against the window, looking back at her. What had gotten himself into? On the medical transport, sat beside's healing pod. The doctors had placed him inside, filled it with special fluids that would repair his body faster than nature ever could. But even with their advanced technology, it would take weeks for him to heal. The damage was too great. had fallen asleep on a small bed nearby. She had refused to leave the room. She had refused to let go of his hand until the doctors made her. Even in sleep, she reached toward him. Watched her daughter. Then she looked at the human floating in the healing pod, so small compared to her people, so fragile, so breakable. And yet he had not broken. In culture, there was a concept called the life bond. When someone saved a life at the cost of their own suffering, a debt was created, a permanent connection. The saved one owed everything to the savior, their protection, their loyalty, their future. Some treated it as an old tradition, something from ancient times. But's family was old. Her blood went back thousands of years. She still believed in the old ways. This human had given his body, his blood, his pain for her daughter. He had stood between death and her child. In the eyes of law, in the eyes of her ancestors, he now had a claim. But more than law, more than tradition, felt something she had not felt in many years. She looked at this broken human, and she felt her heart move. "You saved my daughter," she whispered to his sleeping form. "You cannot expect me to simply say thank you and walk away. That is not how my people do things. That is not how I do things." She touched the glass of his healing pod gently. "When you wake up, human, we are going to have a very interesting conversation." Opened his eyes slowly. Everything was white, soft, clean. For a moment he thought he was dead. Maybe heaven was real and it looked like an expensive hospital room. Then the pain reminded him he was alive. It was not the terrible, burning pain from before. It was dull now, like an old memory. His body felt strange, like it belonged to someone else. He tried to move his fingers. They worked. He tried to breathe deeply. It hurt, but not too much. "You are awake." The voice came from his right, turned his head slowly and saw her. The woman from the prison ship. She sat in a chair beside his bed, wearing clean white clothes now, her blue skin glowing softly in the light. "Where am I?" His voice came out rough like sand on metal. "A medical facility on Prime. The best doctors in the Dominion have been treating you for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Your injuries were severe. Any other species would have died. Even with our technology, it took time to repair the damage." She paused. "You are lucky to be alive, human." Tried to sit up, but his body refused. He fell back against the soft bed. "The little girl, is she okay?" His face softened, just a little, but he saw it. "She is fine because of you." "Good, that's good." He closed his eyes. Sleep was pulling at him again, heavy and warm. Then it was worth it. "You say that so easily, as if your life means nothing." Opened his eyes again. Was staring at him with an expression he could not understand, something between confusion and frustration. "It's not that my life means nothing," he said slowly. "It's just that her life meant more in that moment. She's a kid. She has her whole future ahead of her. I'm just a cargo hauler with a bad knee and too many regrets." "You are more than that." Stood up and walked to the window. Outside could see an alien city. Tall silver buildings reached toward a purple sky. Ships flew between them like birds. Beautiful, strange, nothing like Earth. "I have been thinking about you for 3 weeks," said without turning around. "Trying to understand why you did what you did. You had no connection to my daughter, no reason to protect her. Most beings in this galaxy would have looked away, but you stepped forward." "Someone had to." "No, someone did not have to, that is the point." She turned to face him. "In my culture, we have something called the life bond. When a person saves another person's life through great personal sacrifice, a debt is created. The saved one and their family are bound to the savior. Forever." Blinked. "Forever? What does that mean?" "It means you have earned a place in my household. You have earned my daughter's loyalty, my resources, my protection." She paused, and something changed in her silver eyes. "You have earned me." The room was very quiet. Was not sure he understood what she was saying. His brain was still foggy from sleep and medicine. "I'm sorry, are you saying that because I saved, you now belong to me?" Lips curved into something that was almost a smile. In a way, but it is not so simple. The life bond is not about ownership. It is about connection, partnership. You saved my daughter. In return, I offer myself and my house to you. We become family. Stared at her. I'm a human cargo hauler, you're a diplomat. Your people live for hundreds of years. Mine are lucky to see 80. This doesn't make any sense. Sense, said the word like it tasted strange. I have spent my whole life making sense, following rules, doing what was expected. And where did it lead me? Captured by raiders, watching my daughter being threatened, helpless to protect her. She walked to his bedside and sat down again, closer this time. You made no sense. You threw away your safety, your health, your life for a child you did not know. That kind of madness is more valuable than all my logic. The door opened before could respond. A small figure ran through and jumped onto his bed. You are awake. Wrapped her arms around him carefully, avoiding the parts that were still bandaged. Her silver eyes were bright with tears and joy. Felt something warm spread through his chest, something he had not felt in a long time. Hey kid, he said softly, how are you doing? Better now. I was scared you would never wake up. The doctors said you were very broken inside, but I knew you would be okay. You are too strong to die. Laughed and it hurt, but he did not care. I'm not strong. I'm just too stupid to know when to quit. Shook her head seriously. No, you are my shield. You cannot quit. You are not allowed. She said it with such certainty that could not argue. He looked at, who was watching them with soft eyes. She has been here every day, said. She drew pictures for you, told you stories while you slept. She believes you can hear her. Maybe I could, tried to remember. There had been something in the darkness, a small voice far away, keeping him anchored, keeping him alive. Maybe I heard her. Beamed, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, a drawing made with colorful markers. It showed 3 figures standing together. A tall blue woman, a small blue child, and a shorter figure with brown hair holding the child's hand. This is us, explained. You, me, and Mama, a family. Looked at the drawing, then he looked at, is this really what you want? I'm nobody special. I have nothing to offer someone like you. Took the drawing from and studied it for a moment. You have already given me the most precious thing in my world. My daughter is alive because of you. Do not tell me you have nothing to offer. She set the drawing down carefully. I am not asking you to love me. I am not asking you to stay forever, but I am asking you to consider it. Give us a chance. See what this could become. Was silent for a long time. He thought about Earth, his small apartment, his empty life, years of loneliness that he had filled with work and travel because there was nothing else. No family, no real purpose, just moving from one job to the next, waiting for something to change. Maybe this was the change. He looked at who was waiting with her small hands clasped together. He looked at whose proud face now showed something vulnerable, something hopeful. Okay, he said quietly. I'll stay, at least for now, at least to see what happens. Cheered and hugged him again this time. Exhaled slowly, like she had been holding her breath. Thank you, she said. You will not regret this. Was not sure about that. He had regretted a lot of things in his life, but as snuggled against his side, drawing a new picture on her paper, and as reached out to touch his hand gently, he thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe, for once, he had made the right choice. 6 months had passed since the rescue. Stood in front of a mirror, adjusting the formal clothes had given him. They were style, long flowing robes of deep blue and silver. He looked strange in them, out of place. A short human in alien clothing, about to face the most powerful people in the Dominion. You look fine, said from behind him. She had come from Earth for this day. She wore her best clothes, though they seemed plain compared to everything around them. Stop fussing. Easy for you to say. You're not the one about to be judged by an entire council. No, I'm just the one who has to watch you fail. She grinned at him. Which you won't. You never fail when it counts. The door opened and walked in. She wore white and gold today, the colors of her house. Her silver hair was tied up in complicated patterns and small jewels sparkled at her throat. She looked like a queen. She looked beautiful. Still was not used to that, to her, to any of this. "It is time," she said. "The council is ready to see us." Ran past her mother and grabbed hand. She wore a small version of her mother's dress, white and gold with tiny blue flowers. Over the past months, she had grown attached to in ways that surprised everyone. She called him her shield, her protector. She told everyone who would listen about the human who saved her life. The story had spread across the galaxy. The human who took 47 strikes, the small, soft creature who should have died in minutes but refused to break. Other species talked about it. Some thought it was a lie. Some thought it was a miracle, but many simply wondered what it meant. If humans could endure that, what else could they endure? The council chamber was massive. A great dome of glass and silver, filled with hundreds of nobles and leaders. They sat in circles around a central platform, their silver eyes watching as led her group inside. Felt those eyes on him like physical weight. He was probably the first human to ever stand in this room. He was definitely the first human to stand here as the partner of a diplomat. "Many of you know why we are here," announced, her voice filling the chamber. "6 months ago I was captured by raiders along with my daughter. We would have died if not for the intervention of this man." She gestured to a human, a cargo hauler, someone most of you would consider beneath notice. Whispers filled the room. Not all of them sounded friendly. "Humans are weak," one of the council members said, an old with scars on his face and cold eyes. "They live short lives. They have no special abilities. They are barely worth mentioning among the species of the galaxy." "And yet this weak human survived what would have killed any of us," replied. "He took 47 strikes from a punishment rod. I have seen warriors of our own kind fall after 5. He took 47 and lived." More whispers. Stood still, trying not to show how nervous he was. "A trick," the old said, "or a lie. No human could survive that." "I was there." His voice went cold. "I watched him fall. I saw his blood. I heard my daughter cry for him. Do not call me a liar." Silence fell over the chamber. No one spoke against directly. She was too powerful, too respected, but could feel the doubt in the room. They did not believe. They did not want to believe. Then stepped forward. She was so small in that great chamber, surrounded by adults who had lived for centuries. But she walked to the center of the platform without fear, her little hands steady at her sides. "You say humans are weak," she said. Her voice was high and young, but it carried through the silence. "You say they are not worth mentioning, but this human stood in front of me when they wanted to hurt me. He took my pain. He let them break his body so they would not break mine." She turned to look at the old who had spoken against. Her silver eyes were fierce. "You live for hundreds of years. You have power and technology and everything you could want. But would you have done what he did? Would you have given your blood for a child you did not know?" The old said nothing. "Humans do not live long," continued. "They are small and soft and they break easily, but they do not give up. They do not run away. They stand and fight even when they know they will lose." She walked back to and took his hand. "This human is my shield. He belongs to our house, and anyone who says otherwise will have to go through me first." The chamber was completely silent. Then slowly someone began to clap, then another, and another. Within moments the whole room was filled with the sound of applause. Not all of them noticed. Some sat with their arms crossed, refusing to join, but enough of them clapped, enough of them stood, enough of them looked at him with something new in their eyes. "Respect." Stepped forward and raised her hand for silence. "I present not as a pet or a curiosity. I present him as my chosen partner, as a member of my house, as someone who has earned his place among us through sacrifice and courage." She looked at the council. "I ask for formal recognition of his status." The voting took only minutes. Most of the council raised their hands in favor. A few did not, but in the end the decision was clear. Human was officially recognized by the Dominion. After the ceremony stood on a balcony overlooking the alien city. The purple sky was fading to darkness, and strange stars were beginning to appear, so different from Earth, so far from everything he had known. Stood beside him. So you're really doing this, living with aliens, being part of their society. Seems like it, shook his head slowly. I never planned any of this, you know, I just wanted to help a kid. That's always been your problem, smiled. You help people without thinking about what it will cost you. Maybe, but this time it didn't cost me, it gave me something. He looked back toward the building where and were waiting. A family, a purpose, something worth protecting. Nodded, then I'm happy for you, even if I think you're crazy. I probably am. They stood in silence for a moment, then punched his shoulder lightly. Come on, your new family is waiting, and I think the little one wants to show you more of her drawings. Laughed and followed her back inside. In the months that followed, the story of spread even further. It reached Earth, where humans heard about one of their own standing tall among aliens. It reached other species, who began to look at humans differently. Not as weak, not as forgettable, not as just another short-lived species in a galaxy full of wonders. As enduring, as stubborn, as people who would take the blows, absorb the pain, and keep standing when everyone else expected them to fall. And in the records of the Dominion, a new entry was made, a small note that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. Humans do not break, they bend, they bleed, they bruise, but in the end they do not break. Never saw himself as a hero. He was just a cargo hauler who could not watch a child suffer. But sometimes, that is all it takes to change everything. One moment of courage. One choice to step forward. One person who refuses to look away. And somewhere in that silver city, in a house that now felt like home, a small blue girl held her human father's hand and smiled. Our shield was here. And he always would be.